You stand in a crowded room, yet your heart beats only for the quiet exit nearby. Society tells you that being seen is the ultimate prize, but for you it feels like a burden. The spotlight does not feel like a warm glow. It feels like an intrusive, blinding interrogation of your soul. You wonder why others crave the very attention that makes you want to shrink into the shadows today. While the world screams for validation, you find a strange, silent power in remaining completely and utterly unnoticed. There is a profound contradiction in being a person who has so much to say but fears speaking. You are not shy, nor are you broken. You simply navigate a different psychological map than the majority. Let us explore the quiet depths of your mind and uncover why the spotlight feels so heavy for you. You are the observer, the person who notices the subtle shift in a friend's tone before anyone else does. Your inner world is a vast landscape of thoughts, yet you share only the small, curated fragments with others. When all eyes turn toward you, it feels as though your skin has become too thin for the world. You prefer the perimeter of the conversation, where you can listen deeply without the pressure of performing for others. There is a sophisticated radar within you that constantly scans for expectations, making you hyper-aware of every social nuance. You find comfort in the background, where you can be yourself without the crushing weight of an audience watching. Your value is not tied to how many people notice you, but to the depth of your own internal reflections. To you, being the center of attention feels like losing control of your own narrative to a group of strangers. There was a specific moment when you realized that performing for the world was costing you too much peace. Perhaps it was a social gathering where you felt more lonely while speaking than you ever did while silent. You looked around and saw the exhausting effort people put into being noticed, and decided it was not for you. This realization did not come with anger, but with a weary sense of clarity about your own emotional limits. You began to protect your energy like a precious resource, realizing that not everyone deserves a front-row seat. The masks you once wore started to feel heavy, and the desire to blend in became a form of self-preservation. You noticed that the more you retreated from the spotlight, the more authentic your internal voice finally started to sound. It was the beginning of a journey toward understanding that your preference for the shadows is actually a profound strength. Psychologists suggest that your aversion to the spotlight may stem from a highly developed sense of self-monitoring and awareness. You possess an internal lens that is constantly focused on how your presence might disrupt the equilibrium of the room. This is not merely about fear, but rather a sophisticated cognitive process that prioritizes social harmony over personal ego. You understand that being the center of attention often requires a performance that feels inherently dishonest to your core. There is a concept known as the spotlight effect, where we overestimate how much others are actually noticing our flaws. For you, this effect is amplified by a deep desire for authenticity that refuses to be simplified by others. You value the integrity of your internal world more than the fleeting validation of a crowd's collective and wandering eye. The pressure to be perceived often creates a cognitive dissonance between who you are and who they expect to see. By staying in the background, you maintain the freedom to observe without the burden of being defined by anyone else. Your nervous system likely processes social stimuli with a higher intensity than those who thrive under the bright, hot lights. This sensitivity allows you to perceive the emotional undercurrents that others often miss in their pursuit of being heard. It is a quiet intelligence that values the substance of the conversation over the volume of the individual voice involved. This pattern often begins in an environment where your role was to be the steady, silent observer of others. Perhaps you grew up in a household where the emotional space was already occupied by much louder or demanding personalities. You learned early on that safety was found in the margins, where you could remain unseen and therefore protected. The expectations placed upon you might have felt like a weight that you were never truly asked to carry. You discovered that by being the quiet one, you could avoid the unpredictable storms of those around you today. This conditioning taught your brain that visibility was a risk, while invisibility was a reliable form of emotional sanctuary. You were the child who could read the room before you could even fully articulate your own complex feelings. The world praised your maturity, but it was actually a survival strategy designed to keep your inner self safe. Reflection shows that your preference for the background was not a choice, but a necessary shield for your heart. You do not blame those who shaped you, but you recognize the blueprint they left on your psychological house. Understanding these roots allows you to see that your quiet nature is a testament to your incredible human resilience. It is the story of a person who learned to find peace within themselves when the world was too loud. You find yourself caught in a constant tug-of-war between the desire for deep connection and the need for peace. You want to be known by the people you love, yet you fear the exposure that true intimacy requires. There is a part of you that craves being understood, while another part is terrified of being truly seen. You may appear distant or cold to those who do not know the vibrant warmth of your inner thoughts. This distance is not a lack of care, but a boundary you set to prevent your soul from being overwhelmed. You are a person of profound empathy, who often feels the weight of the world's pain as your own. To protect yourself, you retreat into the silence, where the voices of others cannot drown out your own spirit. You seek honesty in every interaction, yet you often avoid the very drama that honesty can sometimes stir up. It is a delicate balance of wanting to belong while also needing to remain entirely independent and self-sufficient. You value your solitude because it is the only place where you do not have to manage anyone else's expectations. This internal conflict is the hallmark of a person who thinks deeply and feels with an extraordinary, quiet intensity. You are learning to navigate these contradictions, finding beauty in the space between being hidden and being truly known. Research by Susan Cain explores the profound distinction between the extrovert ideal and the power of the quiet mind. Studies on high sensitivity suggest that 20% of the population processes sensory input much more deeply than others. For these individuals, being the center of attention is not a social fear, but a physiological overwhelm of the senses. Brain imaging shows that the amygdala in quieter people often reacts more intensely to new or highly stimulating environments. This biological response confirms that your preference for the background is a hardwired trait of your unique nervous system. Psychological studies on the spotlight effect demonstrate that most people are far too self-absorbed to truly judge you. Understanding this can liberate you from the perceived pressure of every eye in the room being fixed upon you. The concept of autonomous orientation describes people who find their motivation from within rather than from external social praise. You are likely part of this group, finding more satisfaction in personal mastery than in the applause of others. Evidence suggests that those who avoid the spotlight often make the most observant, empathetic, and effective leaders in life. Your ability to listen and process information without the need to dominate the space is a rare and valuable gift. Science validates what you have always felt. Your quiet nature is a sophisticated adaptation to a very loud world. What society labels as shyness is actually a sign of a highly refined and deeply reflective internal filter today. Your desire to remain unnoticed is not a weakness, but a manifestation of your incredible emotional self-sufficiency and grace. You do not need the constant roar of approval because you have built a solid foundation within your own soul. Being the observer allows you to see the truth of situations while others are too busy performing for cameras. Your silence is a form of protection for the parts of yourself that are too sacred for casual consumption. Maturity is realizing that you do not have to be loud to be impactful or visible to be important. You are a person of substance who chooses quality of connection over the quantity of shallow and fleeting attention. The world needs the calm, steady presence of those who can think clearly while everyone else is merely shouting. Your ability to hold space for others without needing to take it for yourself is a hallmark of leadership. By embracing your place in the shadows, you are actually shining a light on a more authentic way of living. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. It is the refreshing spring where your creative and emotional spirit drinks. Silence is not an absence of sound, but the presence of a deep and resonant peace within your heart. Choosing to stay on the periphery is a radical act of self-love in a world that demands your attention. Distance provides the clarity you need to see the world as it truly is, rather than how it appears. Independence is the freedom to exist without the permission or the constant gaze of a surrounding and judging crowd. You are learning that you can be part of the world without being consumed by the noise of the world. There is a sacredness in the things you keep for yourself, the thoughts that never reach the ears of others. Reflect on the power of being the person who knows themselves, so well they do not need an audience. Your journey is one of quiet strength, a steady path that leads toward a life of genuine and deep meaning. True presence is felt in the weight of your words, not in the frequency with which you choose to speak. It is important to remember that your desire for a quiet life is a natural extension of your soul's depth. You are allowed to take up space in the world without having to perform for an audience of strangers. There is nothing wrong with you for choosing the peace of the background over the chaos of the front row. Your comfort in the silence is a gift that allows you to hear the truths that others often miss entirely. As you move forward, trust that your quiet nature is not a barrier, but a bridge to a more authentic existence. The world will continue to be loud, but you have found the internal compass that guides you toward your own light. You are growing into a version of yourself that no longer fears being seen, but simply chooses when to be known. Your journey of self-discovery is a testament to the power of a reflective mind in a distracted, noisy world. Have you ever felt that your need for privacy was actually your greatest source of internal strength and personal clarity? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below, as your story may help someone else feel truly seen.